for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We just pray that you would be with us as we work and discuss the city's business. Give us wisdom and understanding, and help everyone to speak openly and honestly. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Moving on to item C. I seek a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Make motion to approve the agenda.
Aubrey's made the motion. Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving along to item D, citizen comments. Just so everybody remembers, it's 3 minutes of opportunity for the community to speak. It's not a dialogue. If you want to ask questions and enter a dialogue, we're happy to do that at any time. And this is your opportunity to address us, and we will listen. So I'll open citizen comments. Just please sign in and state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to address council.
So if we have comments about new business, do we do it here or there?
No,
Now, because there's no other
there's no here.
public hearing or anything, this is the time.
My pen is not going. That one. So I'm Caroline Lister, 750 South Hopkins Lane. I'm sure you all remember that. I called Micah to verify that about the sales tax. Things like I just want to make sure that, just to reiterate, Tammy Tinker used land ownership to get the majority vote to have the road improvement, and then they are going to use sales tax to pay for that, whereas the residents on the road who didn't want the road don't have that option. So we were outvoted by the business, and then he's not going to pay it through profits. He's going to pay it. He's going to pass that cost onto the clients, and they'll pay it through a sales tax. So I have 3 things to ask, which is not in the form of a question. Since more than 90% of the people using that road are going to be involved with Tanganyika, can the council consider assessing the specials 90% to Tanganyika? At least 90%. I'd be willing to bet 99% of the traffic will be Tanganyika people. So that's first thing. Second thing, the road improvements, per my conversation with Micah, is estimated to start in November this year, finishing May next year. Can you set the permanent finance for the project after August 25th of 2026 so that tax won't start until December of 2027? I believe that's the second thing I'd like for you to consider. Third thing is, the sales tax is approved for Tanganyika to pass the cost on to their consumers or to their clients, to their guests. Personally, I'd like to, if I was a guest, I'd like to know what I'm paying for. I'd like for it not to say city sales tax, because then I just think it's the whole city of Goddard's paying this tax. Or it's just me. I'd like to know why they're assessing special tax, like for it to say to pay for the road that I just drove in on. I just think that'd be transparency, is to make sure they are aware of what the cost is, what the cost is going for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next matter.
I won't take up near as much time tonight, but I do want to second everything that Callan said. I mean, obviously you guys all know that since the last meeting, my house is up for sale because of the hardship that the specials and the increased property taxes is placing on my family. I would love to take my house back off the market if you guys can negotiate, you know, to where our specials are not what they're proposed to be right now. So I just want to second what Calvin said as far as maybe renegotiating and looking at how they're currently being proposed and dispersed out to the property owners on that road. Outside that, I want to thank Craig for the ordinance that is, I don't know if that's the right word, ordinance, being proposed tonight to potentially allow horses on properties such as mine. So I would hope that you guys will consider that and pass that tonight, as if I stay there, I would like to have my horses back, as well as my ability to sell the house to someone else may be largely reliant on the fact that they could have horses there. So we have 2 stalls, we have the fence. I mean, it's a selling point for our home. So I hope you guys will consider passing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else this evening? If not, we'll go ahead and close citizen comments and move on to the next item on the agenda. It's our ex parte conflict of interest declaration. Just want to ask you all four of you if you have any conflicts. I don't at this point, anybody? Okay, we're good, no conflicts. Moves us down to consent agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Aubrey's made the motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second? Keaton seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. New business. 2024 audit. Brooke.
Mayor, Council, I'm pleased to announce that our 2024 audit is completed, and I believe everything went really smoothly. I would like to extend some sincere gratitude to our staff in making this a very easy process this year. Cooperation was off the charts. Lori Devaney, our assistant city clerk, accounts payable clerk, she did an excellent job of being very diligent of keeping track of all of the payables, encumbrances, and being part of the audit team, as well as Sarah Simon. She was excellent with payroll HR needs that were also needed. This is the first year that I've obviously helped with the audit for the city, and working with Randy was awesome. I want to say he went over and beyond my expectations. Anytime I needed help, he was there. He's been very good to work with. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Randy, and he will give us our presentation.
Right, well, thank you. I see you have a big agenda tonight, so I'll do my part to push this along. So, of course, I was here 3 months ago. So, if you'll flip into the third page, it's on our letterhead. That's our opinion on your financial statement, and that's really what you hired us to do. The key paragraph is the third paragraph that says it's an unmodified opinion. You follow the Kansas Municipal Audit and Accounting Guide, which is the regulatory basis of accounting. As such, we conduct our audit accordingly. So an unmodified opinion is as good as we can give you. We can't say everything's perfect, you don't look at every transaction, but that's what people oftentimes refer to as a clean audit. So no issues as far as the audit. There were no adjustments that I had to make, so all the balances matched up to everything that was provided at year end. So no issues there. So I'll just real quickly take you through the audit, the financial statement portion. So page number 5 is your financial statement. Your financial statement is a summary of your activity for the year. Gain cash, receipts, expenditures. Key column is the ending unencumbered cash balance. You notice your funds are all positive and negative and indicated cash basis violation. As such, there were none. You also included in your audit the library. I've mentioned this before, I always reiterate it. I didn't audit the library. The library was included in your audit, and there is a big difference. So, as such, I do some work on it, but it's not the same as being audited separately. Then after that are the notes. There are a couple things I want to point out in this. It starts off with the key disclosures, and these are really intended for somebody who doesn't know anything about the city. Explains information about the city, that basis of accounting I mentioned earlier, information on your budget. On page 8, there's some information regarding the various funds, special assessments. At the bottom of 8 over to 9 is information on capers. So on page 10 is a new disclosure this year. This isn't, so note 5, compensated absences. This isn't required, it hasn't been in here in the past. As we were going through this process of preparing for the audit, performing the audit, I mentioned to Brooke, it's common for particularly cities of your size to include this disclosure. It's not required under the regulatory basis accounting. What it does is it just gives a user an idea of the type of paid leave that your employees receive. This note was written entirely by Brooke. I had to prove it, but we have to make sure that, the business in there, and not prove it, I had to read it. But we cut and pasted it, so all that work was for us, and that's a lot of work. It's only a few paragraphs, but it's time consuming, and this year, she really wanted to focus. She spent a lot of time focusing on the financial statement. She had a background and understood it, just making sure that the report is reflective of what she wants to report, the transparency and the completeness. So once again, what was done in the past wasn't incomplete. This just improves on it a little bit. Then after that is this little more information on page 11 relates to the deposits and investments. On note 10 on page 12, because you guys issue IRBs, you have tax abatement. So we have to make a calculation that shows the amount of tax that was not assessed based on the abatement. So that's at the bottom of page 12. Once again, Brooke put a great deal of time into that. One of the projects is multiple properties. So she gathered all that information to come up with those numbers. Transfers are on page 11. And then one more final thing on page 14, note 15. This note's been in there. This is much more detailed. It's a much better note. So she went through, went back to prior years and accumulated this information so that this note could be in here the way it is. We kind of did some things to break it up. So this provides a good detail as to what those various projects are and the ending balance. Because the key is you got to monitor that ending balance as the project nears completion to make sure that there's sufficient funds to finalize the project. So once again, I don't know how much time she put into this, but it was significant. So then lastly, on page 15 and note 16 is your debt. When I first started doing this audit several years ago, you had very little debt. Well, with the growth of the city, that's exploded, and that's another reason why these other disclosures are important, because the growth of the city is enormous. As a result, you're going to be continuing to issue debt, and the better your financial statements are, the better ratings you get, in essence, and potential savings in interest rates. So page 15 is a summary of your debt, and then 16 is a summary of the activity. So beginning balance, additions, payments, ending balances, and interest paid. And then after that is your debt service schedule as it was as of December 31st. So based on where you are now, your final debt will be paid in 2045. I won't be doing that audit. So then after that is regulatory information. That being said, page 18 is a key schedule. It demonstrates compliance with the budget law. Your budget you published, no credits. So then it's a comparison to your expenditures. Negatives indicate under budget. A positive number would be a budget violation. So there were none of those. A few times we get to say negatives a good number. So in this next part, I'm just going to skim through. Starting on page 19 are the individual funds with a little more detail. Everything is summarized in those first two schedules. So it starts with the various budgeted funds, your general fund, library, the funds that basically are funded by taxes. Then the reserve funds, which are reserve and special revenue funds, are NICs. They're non-budgeted, and they're just limited for a specific purpose, but no budget requirements. Then it's back on page 31 to more budgeted funds, bond and interest, and then the utilities are budgeted. Then after that are going from page 35 through the next couple of pages
It's always nice to have a clean audit. Appreciate all the effort. You guys have any questions? I just look forward to coming back next year and have the same result.
Yes.
So
Yep.
appreciate it. And we'll move on. Do we need to accept it or?
Receive and file.
Okay. Make a motion to receive and file.
A second.
We have a motion, a second. Keats made a motion. Christie second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's been received and filed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
We realize if we're open, we go back a couple of years and see.
Yeah, you can start looking at the trend. Next item on the agenda, first quarter financials. Work again.
More finance. All right, let's see here. So we just wrapped up 2024, so now we can jump right into first quarter 2025. And I want to say that audit being completed right now is very timely because those beginning numbers go straight into our budget that we'll be working on very soon. So that's exciting that we'll have those up and ready. So to move on here, this report is very similar to what you've seen in the past. These are the items that we're going to be covering, but I do want you to know that I've added in 3 different things this time just to be a little more informative, and you might find it helpful as you guys make decisions. I've included a debt summary and also a schedule of council approved projects and expenditures, and then I've updated our budget calendar so you can kind of see how we're doing there. So as we proceed, as I said, this is really similar to the past. You've seen this slide before. The purpose of this report is to provide an overview of the city's financial position and perform through the first quarter. And our main objective is to ensure transparency for our financial operations. So hopefully we're accomplishing that goal. So our very first item we'll go through is our general fund, and these are the items we'll talk about. So overall, our general fund first quarter is looking really pretty stinking good. All of our numbers are up. Just to remind you, our blue column there is our current year-to-date revenues. The green is the year-to-date revenues from 2024 at this period in time, and then the pink column is the period of change from year over year. You can see that our alcohol tax revenue is down. I truly don't know why. I did receive in a county statement estimating that tax for 2026, and it's down as well. So I'm not sure what's going into that calculation with the county, but it isn't a very big revenue driver anyway, so I'm not real concerned about that one. Let's see, our franchise revenue is up quite a bit, 20% from this time last year. Our property taxes is up 45%, which really incorporates our mill increase that we had last year in addition to the valuation increases. So that's right where we wanted it to be to cover the 5 and 5 program and the things that we plan to do. Building permits is down. I have a feeling that this will pick up. I think, you know, it's just kind of getting slow with the weather, and those types of items will pick up. And interest income it shows an 83% decline. I want you to know that that is due to revenue is being allocated differently. Interest is not going completely into the general fund and another fund. It's going to all funds that have a fund balance. So it's spread amongst all of them now. So that's why you see that. You will see at the end that in a later slide, that our interest is really truly up. So I'll talk about that in another slide. These are our top 5 revenue sources. You can see these, and I have a feeling that probably in the second quarter our building permits will make it over here as they would typically do. Right, Micah?
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. So if we move on to expenses, again, blue is year to date, green is last year at this time, and pink is the change from the prior year. We wanted to make sure that our categories that we budgeted for are hitting at about a 25% level. And overall in the general fund, we are hitting at 16.22%, which is good. And we are at 25% of our transfers. So I'm trying to make our transfers quarterly instead of, I think we did them twice last year. I want to account for those as we go forward. You know, it truly makes a difference in which funds get interest. As I was saying, we're allocating interest. When those funds get their transfers in, their balances go up, so that they do get some benefit from that. But overall, the general fund looks pretty good. Expenditure-wise, there isn't really any reason for concern. Top 5 expenditure categories, of course, court and police are our largest, followed by administration. These are all pretty much normal, nothing really outside. So if we move on to our next category of funds, we have our special revenue and enterprise funds. And just a reminder, these are, I've showed you what our revenue funds are: our special highway, debt service, library, parks, tourism, and our CID Tanganyika. And then our enterprise funds are our water, wastewater, and stormwater funds. Revenues for our special revenue and enterprise funds look pretty good too. Everything's really pretty much up from this time last year. Let's see, except tourism, and I kind of want to make a comment about that. Our tourism fund is down. I believe that's because in our first quarter last year we were receiving some revenues in that was really supposed to be allocated to something else. I believe a star bond. And so it got reallocated back that way. So we received it, and then they stopped that, and that's why we're going to see a decline, I think, in that fund this year. I did receive a payment for second quarter here, and it is down. So I have a feeling that's going to trend down for the year. Water utility, you can see that we're up 72.76% from this time last year. I feel good about that. I feel like that's right on track. When I did the water study earlier this month, I think I had us up 75%. So that is true to date. I think that's right where we want to be. Tap fees is down. I think that'll pick up later in the year. And again, interest reallocation is why this fund is up in that one, because they're getting a little bit more. Stormwater or wastewater's looking just about fine. I mean, it's looking fine. Again, tap fees are associated with both of those utilities when we receive that revenue. Stormwater's right on track as well. Expenditures for these funds. Just a reminder, we want to try to be under 25% at this time of the year, and everything is well within it where it needs to be. You can see library fund is always over, but that's just based on the distribution timeline that we receive in. So that was always kind of outside of our metrics, but it's expected. All of the other expenditures look really good, and first quarter transfers have also been made to these funds at the bottom. Okay. So if we take a look at our enterprise fund performance, this is just a little bit, it bothers me just a little bit, but I think it's going to pick up once our revenues pick up a little bit and accumulate in the water fund. You can see our total revenue against our total expenses gives us a net operating ratio of 73.06, which is good. We want it to be under 80%, but when we start working in our capital outlay and our transfers out, you can see where that declines down into a negative where we're eating up fund balance. That capital outlay was actually for our rural water district connection project, so I mean that's something we wanted to do. But you know, we're starting to eat up fund balance there, so I'm kind of hoping to see that recover in second quarter. We'll see. I'm going to keep my eye on that. Sewer utility, same thing. I mean, this includes the transfers and a little bit of capital outlay that was related to some SCADA costs that we had. So again, operating ratios look good, meaning that we're bringing in enough revenue to cover operations. When we start thinking about transfers out and capital outlay, we kind of might need to kind of look at those a little closer. So our next section is our capital improvement and reserve fund overview. So we'll talk about this, and this is our first slide. I kind of want to make fun of this slide. This is so brilliant. You just look at that. There's so much work goes into that. This looks better when you get 2 quarters past and you've got other things to compare it against. So this is our total fund balance and our capital improvement and project funds. Right now we're at the end of the first quarter, we're sitting about 22.4 million. This one makes much more sense, or gives us a lot more information. This one breaks out that 22 million into our project funds and into our own funds that we can say that we can use. So out of that 22 million, 4.82% of that money is actually city money that we can use for our projects. This fund is going to change, I'm feeling, pretty drastically in the second quarter. We have some temp note money coming in, some more projects going to be showing up on here, and we're going to start paying for the 5 and 5 project, or 5 and 5 street program out of this. So it's going to be interesting to see how this might change in the second quarter, and keeping our eye on that. Reserve fund balances. We have an equipment reserve, wastewater utility reserve, and water reserve. And these are our balances as of first quarter. The wastewater utility reserve and the water reserve is going to take a hit in second quarter. I'm going to let you know. I mean, you guys have seen some costs come through that are related to the 5 and 5 partner program for water and sewer. We're eating up some of these funds to accomplish those partner projects with the 5 and 5. So don't be surprised if you see those go down in second quarter. Equipment reserves. So what did we spend money on in first quarter? These are the items that have come out. We spent some money in the front office, reconfiguring office space and some computer equipment. Police vehicle, we had an expense come in that was actually allocated to 2024 that came in that we had to use in 2025. That was just a outfitting cost that we had to allocate this year. And then very little for public works. I mean, just a few things that they needed, some office equipment, some vehicle outfitting. So this is our new slide. I kind of wanted to show you a summary of our debt. Or a debt summary. Summary of our debt summary. Kind of redundant there. So out of all of the city debt we have, you know, how much is actually assessments, what's city projects, what's tent notes. So this schedule is considered at the end of 2025. I know this is kind of confusing. So this is after we make all of our debt payments. We've issued final project permanent financing. You know, we're sitting at $45,860,000 at that point. Out of that $45 million, 21% of that is actually city projects. Special assessments are 26%, and tent note projects is 53%. That $9.62 million in city projects relate to our Goddard Olympic Park projects that we did. A refinance to the water and sewer improvements that we did a long time ago. It was USDA refinance, and then our streets that we did, I think, right before I came on. So those are the projects that the city has issued debt for city projects. The rest of it is assessed. So I just think that might be interesting to you all to know that when you feel like we have so much debt, how much is actually going to be assessed and how much is city responsibility. Next slide, this is our treasury update where our cash is being held and our investments and our current interest rates. You can see that based on the amount of cash that we had on hand pretty much through first quarter, and we made some changes to our investments and moved it to money that was earning interest, we're actually up 19.36% first quarter in interest earnings for the year. You will learn next quarter that we have these CDs that came due. We put it out for bid, found the best option, and they've been reinvested back into CDs as well. Next slide just kind of shows the interest rates and the money it holds those times. And this is our first quarter treasurer's report. It's been published. Really, you know what a treasurer's report is. It shows your beginning balance, ending balance, and change. Nothing really to report on that. This one here is our change in fund balance. This shows the beginning balance and the ending balance as of January 1 to March 31st, kind of how all funds handled overall. And we changed $20,000 for the 83. So not a whole lot of change in the overall budget, our overall funds. So this one here, this chart here on our next page shows the council approved city projects. I thought this would be handy to keep in front of you. It's handy for me to know that when we bring something to council, this will be a running total of what we do for the year. I forget, you know, did we approve that? Did we do that? This is city approved projects. This doesn't include developer projects or anything like this. This is money coming out of our budget that, you know, we've approved or thought about approving, and it kind of keeps it in line of, if you want to go back and kind of refer to what we've done in the past, kind of keeps it on our mind so we don't forget about it. Finally, this is our 2026 budget calendar, and I'm happy to report to see all those little black check marks over there. We're crossing things off right and left. We're right on track. I want to put out extreme happiness for all the staff who's working so hard to learn the budget, learn their line items, come up with a lot of input for me. We've been having lots and lots of meetings and lots of conversations about needs, and everybody has been involved, not just department heads. I mean, pretty much all city staff has had a chance to say what they think is important, and there's a lot of things coming up that, you know, we may not have always thought about. So, and finally, this is just kind of keep you aware of the things I've worked on. Obviously, we did the 2024 audit, the water rate study. That was presented to the ad hoc water committee earlier this month. I think that was really helpful, and that's set up to be something we can do every year just to keep it healthy and ready to go for budgeting. Obviously, we've been working really hard on the 10-year capital improvement plan and the budget prep and the financial handbook, which gets here next, and all the CPE that I've been trying to keep up with to keep my CPA license active. So in the future, some goals. I think I really should work on website transparency and financial reporting. There's a whole lot of things I'd like to do with that for the public. So I'm learning through GFOA. There's a lot of things we can do for our citizens in many ways to show our finances to them and do our best. So that will be something we do start working on when things slow down. So that being said, that's first quarter.
Good job.
Appreciate the changes, the detail.
Yeah.
It's not only transparency for the five of us, but I mean the community can see that as well and look at those things. So thank you for all the efforts in that. And we'll move on.
You want to just do the next one?
I'll just do the next one.
Very good, thank you.
Well, you know, I have the handbook. I could have Mike could just come up and read it real quick and it'd just be over with. And Okay.
Just a
so-
brief summary there.
Yeah. So we'll go in, I will not read this to you, it would drive you all crazy. So, this is a presentation on our municipal financial policy handbook, and how this kind of got started was almost, I don't know, last fall sometime, we started trying to revise and just kind of start looking at our purchasing policy, and it kind of evolved into, well, what about this, and what about that? And there's a lot of things that we haven't really written down or, to really try to follow, and so we took what we could from communities around us and the GFOA and came up with the best practices of trying to write a financial policy handbook that covers a lot of the things that we deal with. I'm sure there's things we're missing, and there'll be things that we change. This is a living document that can be updated, and you'll see in this presentation that we will update it every budget season with our council just to show you any changes, or if you got any changes, or if you don't like it, or whatever. So again, this handbook and policy is supposed to establish transparent, sustainable financial practices. This aligns with GFOA's best practices, just kind of gives us a guideline of how to handle, everyday cash transactions and any type of financial situations we might get into. So this policy has roles and responsibilities, internal controls, budgeting policy, investments, debt management, temp note finance policies, account and financial reporting, fund balance and reserve policies, capital improvement planning, purchase policy, policy review and amendment. So like I said, we don't want to read that tonight. I'll send it, you have it, you can read it tonight. It's important to have roles and responsibilities defined, and in this policy it does. It defines who's going to do what and oversee these things. This isn't the only people that are included in the book. I mean, there's others, but these are the key people that, keep the finances on track. Internal controls is very important to mention and try to keep a policy going. Auditors like internal controls a lot, helps, mitigate fraud, segregates duties, any type of transactions, they're reconciled, and we do it. There's been good policy here. I mean, small staff have a hard time segregating duties and making sure that happens, but there's a lot of oversight about everywhere, so everything's getting looked at by many people before it goes out the door. There's a policy in here for budgeting. It kind of mentions how things are going to happen in a budget cycle. It also mentions fund balance policy reserve, or fund balance policies on how to maintain or what levels will keep our general funds and basically all of our funds. And I'm actually using that piece right now as I'm preparing our budget, as I'm running numbers through to keep our funds at acceptable levels within our policy. Anytime we maybe don't accomplish our goals, and our reserves would fall below these, we would try to put in a place to get that back up right away as soon as we can. There is an investment and debt management policy. There's debt issuance procedures listed. Like I said, there's just all kinds of wonderful things. Temporary notes for developers kind of gives us some guidelines when we're dealing with our temporary notes. It also includes our 5% admin fee that we get to receive on these projects from developers to help with administrative costs. Gives us a mechanism for our interest earned and how we'll allocate it. It also talks in here that we'll be doing our capital improvement planning, and we'll be doing it annually, so we're right on board with that. Of course, you all know we're working on that. And so our purchasing policy, nothing changed. These levels of purchasing authority have remained the same. But it's just been more clearly defined and written better for usage. So nothing really changed. It's just been cleaned up and like I said, easier to use. So again, anytime there's changes to this, we would bring it to council, or we would save it up and as we do our annual review of this policy. So with that being said, I don't know if you have any questions. Not, that's all I have.
Awesome.
It's been reviewed also by Ryan, so he signed off on it, so it's perfect.
You sign off.
Check Ryan. Yeah, so.
Appreciate all the work on that. I think it just getting things reduced to writing as the staff grows and we get larger as an operation. It's all these different things that we're doing, all our building blocks to becoming a larger and more complete operation. So thank you for all your efforts. Appreciate that.
Brooke, sorry to mention this earlier. Do we need to adopt this as our new purchasing policy?
I think it's file and receive. I think we talked about that, maybe.
We should probably move to receive and file and approve that at least.
Okay.
Well, let's do that then. I'll make a
Sorry.
motion
No, it's
to
good.
file and receive this report. In a second. Keith's made the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So received. Thank you. Item I4.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, it's my pleasure to bring you this business item I4, the assessment petition and resolution for Hawkins Estates Edition and Tanganyika Wildlife Park Edition. So we've been working on this item for several months now, so I'm going to try to stick to the highlights this evening. Mainly I'm concerned with this slide, but before I get to it, I want to share that the city received and inspected petitions for majority of the ownership based on the land value in the area for the benefit district. Those petitions were received in the clerk's office. Our bond counsel, of course, is able to take a look at those. Bond counsel provided us the accompanying resolution, so all of that process, of course, is regulated by state statute. So the purpose of the agenda item this evening would be to accept those petitions and then to adopt the authorizing resolution. So before we get to that point, just want to look at the analysis of costs here. So you see the street, the water, and the sewer improvements in a total of $1.15 million. I think probably the most important aspect of this to highlight would be the $624,238. That is the base cost. So just the asphalt, the water, and the sewer base costs. No frills, no streetscape, no lighting, no median, none of those types of things. And that $624,000, that portion, about 19% of that would be assessed to the other property owners in the benefit district, and the remainder of that would be assessed to the Tanganyika Wildlife Park lot, plus 100% of the amount over $624,000. Here's a look at the concept design for the improvements. The drives are off a little bit. Those will be aligned with the drives to the adjacent properties, but you can see the vegetation, the median, the roundabout there to the south. There could be some tweaking that continues to go into this. There's some places for the monument sign and some other decorative elements as well. Again, everything above that base cost of $624,000 would be assessed wholly to Tanganyika Wildlife Park. Here's your financial considerations. The petition and the resolution have been prepared and reviewed by, again, our bond counsel, Kevin Cowan with Gilmore & Bell. Of course, we've kept our city attorney apprised as well. So the recommendation would be to accept the petition for Hawkins Estates Edition and Tanganyika Wildlife Park Edition street paving, sanitary sewer and water improvements, and approve the resolution authorizing such improvements. Before we open it up for questions from the bench, some of the commentary we heard during citizens' comments, we heard the word negotiation and some things like that. I want to remind the council that negotiating from the bench is not good practice. In fact, things tend to go very bad for the collective interest of the community when we negotiate from the bench, so I want to urge you to consider that. The purpose of the meeting is to execute the business of the city. The time for negotiations occurred in the preceding months and even years prior to this evening. So with that, I would be glad to open up to the bench. I know Kevin Cowan could assist, and so could City Attorney Ryan Peck. Would be glad to take any questions you guys might have.
Any questions? Any comments?
Pretty cut and dry.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept.
I make a motion to accept. What are they?
Bottom paragraph
Yeah,
there.
motion, I can't read, put my glasses on. I make a motion to accept petition for Hawkins Estates addition and Tame Eagle Park, addition street pavings, sanitary sewer and water improvements, and approve the resolution authorizing such improvements.
Second.
Robert's made the motion, Brent second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5-0. Next item.
On the way to City Council, interrelated agenda item here, the Tanganyika Transportation Development District petition and resolution. So the TDD, we have those in other areas of our community where there's an opportunity to incentivize economic development, public infrastructure improvements. The tool specifically, it creates an add-on retailer sales tax of 1 cent or 1% that would be collected at the retail area. This example would obviously be Tanganyika Wildlife Park. So if someone spent $1 in the district, 1 cent of that would be collected. It's remitted to the state. Then it comes to the city from there, and it stays in an account, and they can reimburse for eligible project costs. So the reason that only the one property benefits from this is because it's the only one that's generating retail sales tax. So the TDD documents were prepared by our bond counsel. Kevin would be great to help assist. You'll see the amount in the TDD is greater than that in the petitions. The reason for that is it's possible as we get into the project, there could be some additional things that we would like to finance with the revenue collected from the TDD. We also can use those funds for long-term maintenance. So 10 years from now, we're starting to see some cracks in the asphalt or some broken concretes and things like that. We can use these funds for the city itself to actually go in and make those repairs. Of course, it'll be our responsibility to keep up the roads, so there's a benefit to us to have this as well. It's another source of revenue to improve the infrastructure in the future. It'd be nice to, it's kind of like the 1 cent sales tax, I suppose, that we have that helps with roads, but this is yet another 1 cent that could be used specifically to finance improvements on Hawkins Lane. So as a part of this, we would need to accept the petition to establish the TDD, and then we also would need to adopt a resolution that calls and provides for giving notice of a public hearing that would occur on Monday, May 19th, 2025 at Goddard City Hall, of course at 7 p.m. during our regular meeting time. That's going to have to publish in the newspaper May 1st and May 8th, and then the hearing will occur on the 29th, of course, should the council approve it. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask those of myself or Kevin or Ryan. We'd be happy to help.
Any questions? Really cut and dry. I'll entertain a motion to approve petition and authorize the public hearing.
So motion.
Keith makes a motion, or a second.
Second.
Aubrey seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Yeah, that's fine.
So, said motion, I mean, this, would you say that I don't have to read all that?
I guess we'll let it go.
Thanks for making that up.
I've done it a few times and nobody told me I couldn't. So,
No, you can do that.
there we go.
Fair enough.
Next item, I-6. Mr. Arthur.
Honor Mayor City Council, this is I-6, the Garver work order for Hawkins Lane. So Garver has a master service agreement with the city to enter into agreements related to engineering, architecture, field inspection, etc. to help the city with project management and implementation. The city has asked Garver to submit a work order to outline the work and cost necessary to design, bid, and complete field inspection for sewer lines, water lines, storm sewer infrastructure, and street work for the newly acquired Hawkins Lane. The city has also asked Garver to design the entry monument, landscaping themes, and artistry of Hawkins Lane with the understanding that the work will be more streamlined by having one company design both utilities and SDAC component. The City Council is reviewing the work order submitted by Garver for architectural work and utility design for water, sewer, street, and storm sewer for the Hawkins Lane Road Improvement Project. A brief summary is as below. You have the full summary of the work order in the attachment. So professional geotechnical services, shop drawings, staking, utility coordination plans and specifications, professional landscape architecture services, new right-of-way monumentation, utility design and bidding, and KDG notification. So financially, costs associated with work shall be charged to the temporary notice acquired for the project. The legal considerations not handled through an attorney or anything of that nature. It falls in line with general work order practices. It is recommended the City Council approve the work order for Garver for contractual services. And if there's any questions related to it, feel free to ask.
Any questions? We're good. Okay, motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
The Garver
Contractual, yeah, sorry.
Keys made the motion, Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Mayor,
sir.
Honorable Council. I am here to talk about the monument sign condemnation resolution of intent. Basically some background. City last year approved establishing a couple of monument style entrance signs to welcome people into the Goddard community. During that process, a couple of locations were selected. One sign is going to be located northwest of the intersection of Kellogg and 167th Street, and the other located intersection Maples and 167th. Both of those areas are high visibility, high traffic areas. The location along Kellogg has been approved. Sign will be built with construction that's happening pretty soon on that. City staff has also been working diligently with the property owner at Maple and 167th, but we haven't been successful in obtaining an easement. And there's not enough right-of-way there to do it exclusively in the right-of-way. So we need a permanent easement from the adjacent property owner. And so without a voluntary agreement, our recourse is to proceed with eminent domain in order to acquire that easement. Survey has already been conducted, establishing the boundaries and description of the land over which we need the easement. So the first step in the eminent domain process is for the governing body to adopt a resolution of intent, basically directing city staff to file with the clerk a copy of that survey. That's what we're doing here tonight. Provided that y'all adopt the resolution of intent, then we'll be back here next week presenting to you the ordinance formally proceeding with the eminent domain and directing me to initiate those proceedings. What that looks like is we basically file a lawsuit for eminent domain. The property owner is identified. I got the title report back today. There's only one property owner. There's not a mortgage holder on the property. That individual receives notice. They get an opportunity to participate in the process. We go in front of a district court judge who determines whether or not we have the right to proceed with eminent domain. The judge does not get to second guess this body's decision that it's necessary and for the public benefit. That is our sole decision to make. The judge just makes sure that due process has been followed and that we have dotted our I's and crossed our T's. At that point, the district court judge will appoint 3 disinterested appraisers to sit and hear presentations from the city, from the property owner, as to what what is just compensation for the granting of that easement. And ultimately, the appraiser panel will determine what that just compensation looks like, And that is what the city pays to the property owner. And at that time, once payment is made into the court, the city receives the easement. Now, there can always be an appeal from there. It's pretty rare, doesn't happen very often. So that's kind of what the process looks like going forward.
Ryan, could I add another detailed layer on this? So I think maybe we visited a bit about the West Maple Street expansion as well as the walking path that's going to be built over there. I'm fairly certain that most of this property we're talking about is going to become public right-of-way, whether it's us or the county or the city of Wichita at some point in the very near future. So we're trying to get our monument sign in that we've been working on for 9 months. It's a very small piece of property that's likely going to become public right-of-way anyway when those projects come to pass. For what it's worth, I think that needed to be mentioned. So.
As far as cost, obviously there will be cost associated with the time and expense involved in proceeding with the eminent domain proceedings, and then obviously there will be cost associated with whatever the appraiser panel ultimately determines is that just compensation for the permanent easement, which is impossible for me standing here today to predict what that's going to look like. We are not seeking to acquire fee title to the property. We're only looking to acquire a permanent easement that would allow constructing, maintaining that signage there.
So really at this point, the only impact on the area is the sign and maybe a few of the large rocks that we put around it to protect it.
Right.
And so it's a really small footprint, and there's no change of ownership.
No, there wouldn't be any change of ownership. My understanding, this is unlikely to materially impact the use or development of the property. Obviously, the landowner, may dispute that and can show up and make those arguments to the appraiser panel, and the appraiser panel will, take both sides, take their input to heart, and ultimately render a decision as to what they believe the financial impact is. Typically, when the appraiser panel is valuing a taking, what they do is they look at the value of the property before the taking, and they look at the value of the property after the taking. And the just compensation typically is the difference between those two values. So let's suppose that the value of the property is $100,000 sitting here today. We take a permanent easement on the property, and now the fair market value of the property is $90,000. The difference is $10,000. Oftentimes that is the result.
Ryan's using round numbers. This is.
I'm using round numbers. Don't read into it. I'm a lawyer, so math is not my strongest trait. So I gotta stick with simple numbers.
It felt like we were getting pretty close. But we're trying to get 3 family members to coordinate and come to the table and make decisions, and it's just been months and months. Our goal is to leave the door open to be able to come to an agreement without finalizing the condemnation process. But how long are we willing to wait? It's already been however many months since we approved the monument.
And oftentimes that's the leverage that governing bodies have in these types of proceedings, is you can always fall back on the eminent domain process. And that doesn't cut off, negotiations or the possibility that we strike an agreement. And also, if we get a decision back from the appraiser panel that we feel is way out of whack and way more than what we want to spend, we can abandon the proceedings at that time. Now, there could be an obligation to pay the other side's attorney's fees at that point in time, so we have to take that into consideration. But for something like this, I don't think there's a whole lot of heavy lifting associated with this.
We're talking about an easement, we're not even talking about fee title.
Right, no, that's fine, yeah.
Do you want to accelerate one more slide for us?
There we go. Any other questions, or any questions?
Just to make sure that the property owner will be compensated, whether this goes through, or if they do come back and say we want to negotiate, then all of this is dropped, and
If the parties reach an agreement, and, you know, ultimately that agreement is going to involve the city paying some amount of money to the property owner, and the property owner giving a permanent easement to the city. If an agreement is reached, then yes, the eminent domain gets dismissed, we paper that agreement, we record the easement, and everybody goes their own way.
They've already got a copy of the agreement. It's been, again, months we've been trying to work this out with them, and we've told them, hey, we'll give you until this date, or we're gonna have to try to proceed in another way. So they've got a copy of an agreement that they could act on at any time.
Has there been a two-way dialogue at all, or has it just been one-sided?
Brian has been leading the charge here, so I'll let him.
We had 2 in-person meetings with the property owner. As
Was
well
it
as,
productive, or was it like 5-minute meetings, or?
oh, no, they were productive meetings. One meeting we met on site, actually out at Maple and 167th, and discussed the project. We've shared with them renderings of the sign, where it's going to go. So we had that meeting, and then a follow-up meeting to discuss the easement itself, its legal description, and the agreement itself with the deadline and the offer. We gave 2 offers, both were not accepted by the property owner. So no, we had 2 very good discussions, but we were not able to come to an agreement.
How much of this corner are we actually trying to take here?
What's the size? It's like 1/3 of an acre, 1/10?
Less than 1/3 of an acre.
So we're not, we're not owning the property, we're getting an easement to put a
Yeah, the word
sign.
take is kind of.
Yeah, no.
Racist.
No, it's not, it's not descriptive.
But it is.
Well, and the other thing, if the city goes ahead, like they plan, put that sidewalk all the way through to 183rd Street, that easement is gonna go
Yep,
the whole length of that property.
yep.
So, I mean, it's a section road.
You're gonna need that easement anyway.
It's gonna have a
It's,
sidewalk.
it's happening no matter whether it's us, the county, or the
So
city.
we're just-
so
we're
the sign will end up being on the sidewalk? or-
We've been working with the other agencies to make sure that we're communicating location of their infrastructure improvements and ours. It'll be near the walking path, yes. And as a part of the West Maple Street expansion, there'll be some intersection improvements too. So again, a good chunk of this easement we're trying to accommodate is going to become public property anyway for the sake of those improvements at some point in the very near future. Those projects are already designed. In fact, the walking path should have already been done by now. But City of Wichita has the West Maple Street expansion on their near-term CIP, and it's already designed. NKEC's the engineer. Those plans are done. So again, whether or not we do this, it's going to become part of the public right-of-way at some point anyway, or a good portion of it.
Are those signs already built?
No, once we have the exact location done and locates completed, then they'll come in and do the foundation, the concrete foundation first, and then connect the sign. So
No, they already built the signs, because we gave them the okay to build it, right?
correct, yeah, the sign company, their policy is that they will not actually build the signs because they only have limited storage. We're in the same boat with limited storage, so now that we have selected the
So as
location.
prices go up, will those signs cost
The
us
price
more?
is locked
We've already locked in
Cost
when we,
us.
yeah, we've already locked in those prices for construction of the signs when we did that, when we approved the project last year. So it's just a matter of they can't construct them because they only have limited storage space, but they will have to honor that price because that's what we signed and agreed to.
Any other
I
questions?
mean, we're gonna have to widen Maple eventually either way. I don't love this process. I've never been a fan of eminent domain. I guess my hope is just that this will be the final push on pressure and we'll be able to come to an agreement outside of doing it this way, because I don't like to do it this way.
we're not purchasing anything, we're just trying to get access to.
Then we're gonna have to have either way.
And they will be compensated, I mean, that's.
Yeah, it's not.
Dude, I've sat in that intersection for 30 minutes at a time, we're gonna have to do it eventually, so,
And then hopefully we'll have some partners
yeah.
with the city and the county as we work on that. All right, decision time. I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of the intent.
Arby's made a motion, a second. I will second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, sir. I-8. Street bid award. Mr. Kevin Baker, good evening, sir.
Good evening to you all. There we go. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Pleasure to be here. My honor to present the 2025 Street Bid Awards for the 5 and 5 program. I believe Tina played a big part in putting this together, the streets that were selected for this. Is that correct? Start off with, we have 1st and 3rd Street total reconstruction. This is about 90% of the total cost of this 5 and 5 this year. Kind of a fun fact for you. There we go. Forget I got this. It's been a while. It's a little rusty.
You'll get the rest knocked off.
Probably updated a little bit since then, those days.
Kind of nice to have PowerPoint actually. I just gotta learn to hit the button.
Very good.
So anyway, yeah, 1st Street and 3rd Street there shows what we're doing, total reconstruction, some curb replacement, et cetera. Again, 90% of the total cost. There you go for the map. Shows the area that's going to be involved. Patch work there on Oak Street. Crack sealing and surface seal on Sunset, St. Andrews up to Summerwood. Shows you the map there, what's being done. St. Andrew 102 North, St. Andrew to Sunset. Milling and overlay, that's the layout of that. I'm assuming that's 5 working days for each one of those line items. So you can add that up on days.
You want to just do all of those in 5 days.
Just clarify. So that's what that looks like. Looks like my granddaughter with a crayon.
She stayed with the line on the street.
Colorful, yeah. No, she's actually not that good. But. Pearson was awarded the contract at $1,384,108. Once the bids were received, additional funds were made possible with the Brooks Magic Wand. An additional engineering cost of $83,863.94 was added into that. Now, we had an original budget of $1 million for the 5 and 5, $250,000 for the annual street maintenance for the year. We added those two together. The construction low bid was $1,384,108. Total project cost $1,457,971. Unforeseen expenses, we added 10% contingency, which calculated to about $138,411. Then you see the projected expenditures there with the contingency added for a total potential cost of $1,606,382.94. Funding breakdown: capital improvement fund, $972,000. Special highway street fund, $250,000. General fund discretionary line item, $384,352. Cover the construction costs, engineering costs, and the full contingency if needed. So I went through that kind of fast on purpose. Any questions, discussions?
Kevin, could you go back one slide? Mayor, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but do you want to talk a bit about the 5 and 5 plan, Mayor? Kind of its origins, the mill levy plan for financing. I think it's important when you look at this slide, you know, the 1.606 million and the amount that's coming out of the general fund discretionary line item. We were able to do that this year, but we won't be able to do that every year moving forward, which is why we have the mill levy plan that was established during the budget process last year. So I don't think I covered it all for you, but
First I want to say that the money we spent last year, we spent $1.7 million last year for street improvements. That was put on a 20-year note. So that means in addition to the cost of $1.7 million, there's another $500,000 worth of interest that was paid over the next 20 years. So we put that basically on the city's credit card. Last year we raised our mill levy 6 mills, in part to fund street improvements. So that 6 mill levy increase based on the $77,000 per mill, round numbers about $480,000. So because of our 1 cent sales tax and the transfers that we've done, addition to that basically around $500,000, we've been able to fund the additional out of the capital improvement fund and the street highway fund. Allowing for contingencies, we're at 1.6 million. Going forward for us to continue, and the other thing I think is important to realize that the streets that we're doing those mill and overlays on are 20 years old plus. And we're not going to stop with just that group of streets. As you drive through the community, there are other areas where we need to do this type of maintenance. Because of the lack of maintenance over a long period of time on 1st and 3rd Street, we're having to spend basically the second half of 1st Street is $355,000. The repaving and digging out, going back to full depth reconstruction, it's over $650,000. We're spending $1 million on 2 streets because over the last 40 years we haven't done anything for maintenance and taking care of the streets. So this is really a 2-pronged approach. We're going back and taking care of the core, and in addition on 3rd Street, because of we're tearing that up, we find through our water stay that we've got a water line main that's a 4-inch pipe. Well, that doesn't do very well for water pressure if you got a water hydrant hooked up to a 4-inch water pipe. So we're going through and replacing that, and that's an additional cost coming out of the water fund of $155,000. This is the block and tackling and things that need to be done to take care of the infrastructure of our city streets and roads. You know, in the next year or two, whether we increase the mill this year and a mill the next couple of years or 2 mills or whatever, in order to continue this momentum, there's a possibility that we do go ahead and slightly increase the mill levy. We might be able, because of the growth in the sales tax this year in the budget, that 1 cent sales tax is generating $1.7 million. So that allows us to maintain a property tax mill levy of 37. You do the simple math on that. If we didn't have that sales tax and we had to cover that expense with property tax, we would be charging an additional 22 mills to cover those expenses. So that 1 cent sales tax is allowing property owners to share the burden of the city with everyone that buys something a penny at a time. It's a fair way of taxing, and it has reduced over time. And I think I said last week, our mill levy in the cities of 2,000 to 15,000, there are only 8 other communities that have a lower mill levy. That 37.6 mills, they're scattered across the state, but the majority of communities between $2,000 and $15,000 have a higher mill levy. So we can thank the fact that we have a 1 cent sales tax that has shared the burden for taking care of the city. Now the other thing is we're growing, our valuations are increasing, and it becomes a process of trying to, the juggling act of helping, trying to decide how we spend the money and what we're doing with the CIP. But I'm very thankful that you all up here on the bench were willing to go and raise the property tax, because we're actually, this is the result of that, and it's hard numbers, and you're going to be able to see the continued effort for the next 4 years after this. And when we get done, we probably won't have to spend quite as much money on street repairs, because we'll just be going into a process then of doing ongoing maintenance on things. One thing I think we need to consider, and I'm just going to say this, we might need to be considering in some of these new subdivisions, instead of putting down asphalt, maybe it might be wiser to spend a few more dollars to put down concrete. We did that on the frontage road on the north side. I know sometimes concrete cracks, but depending on the surface that it's laid down, you don't have the maintenance issues after 20 years that you're going to have with asphalt. So, I mean, I just think sometimes we can be, penny wise and dollar foolish in some of the things we do, but if we do the right things, do them the right way, hopefully we maximize the dollars that we spend and the things that we do. So, here ended the reading of the street improvement project. I'm excited about this.
We are too.
I am excited about this, and I appreciate everyone's efforts on the staff to get this done to this point. And this is what we're supposed to do: take care of things.
Absolutely. I think we've got a mathematician as a mayor.
I don't know about that, but I can add when I get my shoes on. So.
We want to be able to continue to fund this program till its conclusion, and that's going to take the 6, 2, and 2. And so as we get into budget cycle, continue to keep that in mind. If we want to prolong it, that's fine too. But hopefully we can stick with the program and get it all done within a few years, so we can move on to the other things that require our attention too. So, all right, Kevin, shoot him the recommendation there.
There you go.
Why not? It's such an exciting thing.
I move to recommend that the city, that we award the construction contract to Pearson Construction in an amount not to exceed $1,522,519, inclusive of a 10% contingency, and to acknowledge certified engineering design PA for completed engineering and design services totaling $83,863.94. Further authorize the mayor or city administrator to execute all necessary contract documents with Pearson Construction and certified engineering design PA, subject to final legal review.
Krista makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Aubrey is seconded that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. All right, item I-9.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, you're doing double duty tonight.
Round 2.
All right. Crash. Thank you, sir.
So this is a proposed revision to the city code with regard to basically farm animals, non-domesticated animals within the city limits. Right now, as the code stands, non-domesticated animals are just absolutely prohibited. But as the city continues to grow, we are annexing more and more land out in the country. And occasionally what you see is some of those landowners will have non-domesticated animals. And so what this ordinance proposes to do is to soften that prohibition. to still prohibit the possession of non-domesticated animals within 300 feet of any other residence, but it also gives this governing body the opportunity to make exceptions. And so if somebody, for example, has a horse and they want that horse to be accepted under this policy, they could approach the city council and it would be determined by the council on a case-by-case basis as to whether to make that exception.
Mayor, if I could, I want to apologize to the council on behalf of staff. The legal team made this ordinance available to us in a timely manner yesterday morning, and we failed to forward it along to you guys until it was just handed to you this evening. So the contents of it are pretty well mirrored to what we discussed in the agenda report, but just want to apologize. It's
No need to apologize.
not the way we like to do it.
Well, and I missed the first publication deadline last week, taking my kid to a college visit, so.
It's not like there isn't anything going on here. So. Let's keep this thing rolling.
Understand. So basically, under this, it's still unlawful within 300 feet of any residence, except in the case of horses, they can be permitted within that 300-foot buffer on a case-by-case basis as determined by the city council. Requirements would be the keeping of the horses must generate an economic or financial benefit to the property owner. They've got to provide documentation to justify that. Premises still have to be maintained in a condition that is free from nuisances. I mean, nuisance ordinance would still apply. All enclosures, fencing, sheds, shelters, etc. still must be compatible with the aesthetics of the surrounding area. We don't want anything being a bit of an eyesore. Doesn't apply to operation of a stockyard or sales barn used for loading, anything that's already permissible under city code, so it doesn't change any of that. Doesn't apply to female chickens, which are already provided for under the code. So there's a small cost per publication, but otherwise no other financial costs. And it was drafted by me, So recommended that the city council waive the reading of the ordinance and then by roll call vote approve the ordinance.
I'm having a real hard time understanding the keeping of horses must generate an economic or financial benefit. I just feel some people have horses because they want to have horses, and I feel like that's probably why the barns have horses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, that's like part of her, the young lady over there was talking about, that's part of the appeal of her home, is because it has stables, it has
We modeled.
ability to hold a horse. Is that what that falls under?
Well, we modeled it after another community that we borrowed the ordinance from. And I think the idea is it should be a unique circumstance, I think, as opposed to just everybody can have a horse and approach the city council. I think limiting it to there being some financial or economic benefit to the property owner, and that's a broad term. And so I think that can be interpreted however you all want to interpret that.
So in this case, you could basically grandfather them into keeping the horses, right?
Sure.
And is that so if the property changes hands, that grandfather stays with the property, right? Where the new homeowners will find it appealing, they can bring their horses in and then the property's grandfather. Am I reading that right?
Subject to your approval.
Yeah.
Or as is right now, they'll be grandfathered in when they're annexed in. But when they sell the property, the new property owners would no longer be grandfathered. That's when this ordinance kicks in, and the city council would have to approve their keeping of the horses.
Right. So we could amend this to say keeping of the horses must generate an economic, financial, or personal benefit for the owner, leasing, occupant, or person in charge of the premises.
I guess my bigger concern is what if this becomes a thing 10 years from now? What if the Barnes family decides to stay and in 10 years they sell and none of us are sitting here? Then it's a whole new council and then it's up to their judgment, you know?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's, I like
And the
that.
new council 10 years ago say, screw that.
But the new council could also just change the ordinance altogether.
It'd be a little harder to do, but I guess in my, because I kind of was looking at the same thing, if we just would add a comma.
Add your comma personal?
Yeah.
At that point, you might as well just strike that.
Can we just
that
strike
line.
that part?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably just, well, let me see if I can find it.
We'll go back on your slide, so we can read it.
So we're gonna redline that out? or what?
So I just eliminate A altogether.
It's covered by one.
Can I put a long one in my backyard in the HOA?
Can't conflict with the neighborly aesthetic.
Good luck with that.
I'll slide it in there.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with it as long as we strike A.
Okay.
We're all 300 feet apart.
Okay. Any other
So
comments?
subject to that modification.
There we go.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of the ordinance.
Second.
You go forward.
Yeah.
Alright.
you're good.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance amending the city code subject to the change of
I know.
2B.
Slow down. We've got a motion in a second. We need to approve, vote on the,
Oh, y'all didn't vote?
No.
My bad, dude. I'm just moving. I'm sorry.
You got
That's not it.
I'll entertain it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There you go. Okay.
Alright. I make a motion to approve the ordinance amending the city code with the change to striking 2A.
Second.
Keys made the motion. Brent seconded the motion. Roll call votes.
Councilmember Hall,
Yes.
Councilmember Fish,
Yes.
Mayor Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Councilmember Collins,
Yes.
ordinance 995.
Ordinance 995 carries 5-0.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good job, sir.
Next item, I-10, catwalk.
Hello, me again. The wastewater plant was built in 2008. We have come across a safety issue that I think needs to be addressed.
The green slides.
I'm sorry, I did that on purpose. Did you catch it?
I like it.
I thought it was soon.
I got a call.
It's very, very
Festive.
understated. It's very festive.
I got a call today that said they were gonna add a diving board to this auction.
I didn't get that call. There we go. So anyway, back to business. The clarifiers, well, just shorten this up. There's a picture of the, where a catwalk should be. That's what it should look like. What the guys are doing, see us standing over there in the shadows? The guys are having to reach over the phone to get the good stuff. It's a DO probe, measures oxygen in the water that helps the bacteria do its thing. They really need that. It's the only basin in the plant that doesn't have a catwalk. So what they're doing is stepping off of the, you can see the other end of where the catwalk ends on the other side. They're stepping off there where Mike and I are standing to reach out into the basin to get the samples. So, we got some proposals from, Aramod was the provider of the material. UCI was the builder of the plant, and therefore, the materials from Aramod were, there's a financial breakdown. Materials $12,480. Installation from UCI $7,241. The subtotal, and then we added 10% for contingency with a total of $21,693.10. be paid for out of the sewer reserve fund. Funding was available to support this without impacting other planned capital improvements or operational needs. No additional appropriations are requested at this time. The investment will improve operational safety for public works staff, align with regulatory compliance standards, and support the long-term sustainability of wastewater infrastructure. So it's recommended that the council approve the purchase of the materials and the installation of the catwalk at the wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $12,480. Services provided by UCI in the amount of $7,241, with a total base project cost of $19,721, a 10% contingency of $1,972. Staff recommends approval for the project not to exceed $21,693.10 to be funded from the sewer reserve fund.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, can we just not take shortcuts that people are danger in the future? That would be awesome.
Well, this was brought to
Clean
my,
though.
this was brought to my
Flies
attention.
across it or anything.
I'm sorry, it was brought to my attention, and I felt that it was something we should be.
Oh, no, I appreciate it.
Near misses, just curious.
Yes.
From the other side.
Yes, that's what, got the conversation going. It was last year, I think, during one of the ice storms.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we don't need any close calls in this environment.
I'll make the motion to approve this expense to put the catwalk in, not to exceed the $19,721 with the 10% contingency included. You have a second?
I second.
Krista seconds, all those in favor say
We went right at the bottom.
21,600. I just want to make sure you get the numbers.
well, I'll add the contingency on to get the 693. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Add it to the list. Brooke, that goes on the list of things I did this
I
year.
think they won't like them.
Micromanage it all.
Replat. Item number 10. Or 11. So excited we're getting down to the end of this.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, this is final replat for Garden Trails End second edition. So Garver has submitted an application for a replat for the Garden Trails End development. The original plat had a section lots 3 through 43 of block 3, amounting about 35 lots. So the developer would have liked to develop into duplexes. However, the developer signed a restricted covenant limiting the number of duplexes to 80 or 40% of the development, whichever was less. This was a requirement of the rezoning process. The developer asked the City Council to rescind the limitation on duplexes, which was denied, so the developer would like to add additional single-family lots into the next phase. The new plat would add an additional 4 lots, totaling 39 for the new second edition. Replats are treated just like regular plats, with the preliminary and the final plat. The final replat goes before City Council for final consideration. The final plat was approved by the Planning Commission on April 14th of 2025. Planning Commission was reviewing the final replat for Garden Trails End, and the new plat was 39, zoning was R2, land use was single-family detached. The detention bond could adequately carry additional lots. And this is the new replat for Garden Trails End. 215 is over on this side, so it's dividing 215. So originally, like I said, there was 35 lots, and they're changing to 39.
So is that after beyond where the road ends, that second phase?
So the road will loop around the current layout of the development. The road loops over this way, touches on the 215 over here. So
But that
there's
hasn't been paved yet.
no, yeah, this part's still about compacted gravel over here.
Okay,
So
I was
it's
just
still-
trying in my mind to see where.
Yeah, so it touches the trail over here on the north side, and there's still this section over here that can be developed. So it's this section in here, and right around 2024 is when he came back and asked to do more duplexes, and we said no. And so he's like, okay, well, I'd like to introduce more single family in this area. Financially and legally approved as a form, is recommended the City Council approve the final replat for the Garden Trails End second edition.
Any questions, comments? 4 more single-family homes? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the final replat for Garden Trails End second edition.
Keith makes a motion. I'm gonna give the time to run into Krista. Krista seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. This is item 12, the final plat for Maple Tree Development. So Baldwin Company submitted a plat application for the Maple Tree Development off of 199 of Maple on the southwest corner. The rezone for this development was considered on July 8th of 2024 with case number zone 24-3 approved by the Planning Commission. City Council approved the zoning on July 15th of 2024. Planning is to be considered first by the Planning Commission, and the final plat goes before the City Council for final approval. The Planning Commission approved the final plat on April 14th with a 5-to-1 vote. City Council, I should say, is reviewing the final plat for the Maple Tree Development. There's 88 total lots, 9 lots for twin homes, which is lots 24 to 32 of Block B. There's 24 lots for duplexes, lots 33 through 56 of Block B. 55 lots are single-family detached, which is lots 1 through 23 of Block B, lots 1 through 33 of Block A. Zoning was approved to R2, Reserve A is a detention pond for a site to manage stormwater retention. And this is the final plat for Maple Tree. This is the detention pond over here. This cul-de-sac is where you're going to see the duplexes and the twin homes straddle that cul-de-sac. The rest of it over here is single-family, and single-family down to this area. 199 is on this side, and then Maple is on the north end. Financially and legally approved as form, it is recommended City Council approve the final plat for the Maple Tree Development. Is there any questions related to that one?
I make a motion that we approve the final plat for Maple Tree Development.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item J, City Administrator's Report. City Administrator Craig Crissett, you are.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, it's my pleasure this evening to update you on some of the city's projects and operations. We've got several upcoming special City Council meetings, regular City Council meetings, community engagement events. We've really been able to do, I think, a great job of kind of upticking on these so we can get more engagement with the public on some of these important items that are coming down the pike. The monument sign projects, that was mentioned earlier. 183rd turn lanes, the intersection is open, however seating and stabilization is still required on the north side of US 54. KDOT has verbally authorized a change order that will replace an additional 400 square yard section of concrete on the south side of the intersection, which will require another brief closure on the south side of 183rd for southbound traffic. This will occur in approximately 3 to 4 weeks if things move along appropriately with the bureaucratic requirements. We will provide notice to the public. The cost of the change order will be below the maximum KDOT grant contribution. The city will have some costs for design and engineering, traffic signalization, which this is a hot topic, so be keen on this one. Traffic signalization will not be recalibrated until the project has been concluded and traffic stabilized. Right now it's kind of on the standard timing system, and once we get this change order completed and traffic has another couple of weeks to stabilize, then they will come in and they will retime all the lights, and everyone will be much more pleased with that once it's fixed. So the Ad Hoc Water Committee Community Workshop is Monday, May 5th, 5:30 p.m. at the Community Center. On May 19th, the committee will present its recommendations to City Council at the regularly scheduled council meeting. The Ad Hoc Water Committee Celebration Lunch will occur May 30th, beginning at noon at the Sandbox. Please RSVP to my colleague Ryan Schrack to let him know of your attendance at the Ad Hoc Water Committee celebration. Please do announce through the good efforts of our Senior Center leadership team and Ryan and Sarah, who are also on the hiring panel. Ella Hawk has accepted the position of part-time Goddard Senior Center Director and will begin on Thursday, May 8th. She'll work Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. with additional flexible hours as needed. Ella will report to Ryan and collaborate closely with the Senior Citizen Advisory Board. We sincerely thank Amanda Treadwell for her outstanding service as volunteer director, and we look forward to Ella's leadership. The pool and splash pad startup, always a hot topic of conversation. The city staff are working diligently to get the Goddard Municipal Pool and Splash Pad running. The staff, the Public Works Department, began filling the pool today. We're shooting for opening in a few weeks. The splash pad will debut for the 2025 season on Sunday, May 11th. The Prado construction work going on over at Goddard Pool and Denise Park, that drainage work is going real well. They got a few different things to tidy up over there and it'll be done. I hope we have sod planted this week. So I drove over there after the real heavy rains this week, and even without sod, the water seemed to be moving pretty well. So kudos to Tina and Harlan and others for their work on that project, way under budget, which is always exciting too. North Park request for architectural and engineering costs and qualifications. We received 6 proposals. We'll be interviewing 2 finalist firms and making a recommendation to City Council during the May 19th City Council meeting. The firm that wins, their purpose will be to take the project to construction documents and do the construction administration later on in the year when we're hopefully breaking ground on a new North Park. Salt storage facility, the roadway and site pad are complete. The building will be delivered and installed in the coming weeks, pending site plan approval from the Planning Commission. Neighbors United and Cleanup Day, just a heartfelt thank you to everyone who made that day possible. It was a great success. We are grateful for all the volunteer sponsors and organizers and the city staff who made it possible. Main Street Market, got the Mother's Day market coming up. Vice Mayor Fish will have a lot more information for that coming up during governing body comments, I'm sure. So I'll leave that one there. We've got several upcoming agenda items. I was able to clear out the queue when I was writing this report of all the 12 things we discussed tonight. We got a few more already coming back in. Did want to mention a few other things I didn't write here. The city/rural water district pump station officially got approval from KDHE. So kudos to Harlan for going to bat there. That's not an easy process to get that approval from the state. So we should see construction over there sometime in the coming weeks. So kudos to Harlan. The 3rd Street Water Main Project, we call it the Partner Project with the 5 and 5 Property Tax Initiative Street Program. They've already got 160 lineal feet of water main in the ground with just a couple of weeks of work under their belt. So the guys are doing an awesome job taking on that tall task. Not only was that main undersized, as Mayor mentioned, but it's a 60-plus-year-old transite pipe, so no sense of putting a new road on top of an old pipe.
What kind of pipe?
Transite. And I owe Councilman Traylor a apology. At our last council meeting during our CIP workshop, I overestimated the capabilities of our app for the city of Goddard. It does not know the location or geolocate. So now that we know that that's a missing feature, we're going to see if we can get that as an add-on. Spoke with Danny and Ryan after that meeting, and we're going to kind of get re-energized and get marketing the capabilities of our app and the fact that it exists, because I don't think we have very many users that know when we have it and what it can do. So I wanted to apologize to you for that public misstatement that I made at the last council meeting.
No problem.
That's all I got.
Can we get a mayor tracking feature on that over here? Yeah. Even though we do it all the time.
Oh, I can pay for that. She's listening and I'm gonna get pinged on my computer. It's about
That's one on you, dude.
Yeah, but it's on my truck, so I can walk away from the truck and she
He gets
doesn't
on my
buy it.
back and dangerous, man.
Don't tell me that. You got it. All right, we're gonna move on here. Have anybody comments? Krista?
A lot is happening and it's exciting. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks for the green report.
You're welcome.
Brooke, thank you also for your hard work on the financial stuff. It's very encouraging to be able to read it and understand it, so thank you for that. Thank you to the rest of the staff for all that you're doing to help us.
Well, you're up.
Yeah, a lot of big stuff happening right now. I think looking at those reports tonight is eye-opening of how far behind we were and how far we have come, and then being able to look at that 5 and 5 and get some things done that needed to be done for a while is exciting. Like I said, Main Street Market, the 11th, Mother's Day, it's going to be awesome. People love the Easter egg hunt. I'm watching Danny so I don't say something that's not right. She's in charge now. People love the Easter egg hunt, so we're going to hide stuff, and then you're going to find it, and then you're going to prize again. And that's all the details that I have on that completely until tomorrow. So, and I'll be there, 2 to 5, Main Street. It's going to be awesome.
Moving on down the line, right?
That's about it.
Okay, Aubrey?
Yeah, good job on everything tonight, guys. Appreciate all the effort you do. Craig, appreciate you a ton, man. You're very transparent and you communicate a lot, and it's really good. I love it. I think too, you folks sitting over there need to grow some beards.
Wow.
Maybe that way we have a uniform any longer now.
No city dress code.
See the mayor get a beard. Good job, everybody.
I think it skips the generation. My 3 sons all have beards, but that's fine. Just a couple things. Number one, I just want to thank the staff. It was interesting watching this evening. It just seemed like there's just so much going on. You guys are all so serious, and I just hope that that you can each day kind of take a breath and just take in what we're doing and enjoy it. We are really appreciative of all the things that you're doing. Kevin coming in here in a couple weeks, seeing something like that catwalk, thank you for doing that. You all make this really fun. You make it easy for us. And it's exciting to see the changes that have taken place in the last year or so. So thank you. Smile a little bit when you walk out here tonight for me. The other thing I just wanted to mention is Saturday morning we're going to have a quarterly prayer coffee starting at 8:27. And just appreciate anyone that wants to come and pray for the community and things going on around here. Get a cup of coffee and then we'll spend a few minutes in prayer. Last thing I'll mention is my wife has already responded to those comments. And I'm in trouble at home again. So kind of normal. But anyway, with that, if there's anything else, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
He makes a motion, Krista seconds, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting's closed, thank you.
One small leap for mankind.
I estimated 9:30, but that's.
Yeah.